I live in a neighborhood home with my older sister. We rent the place and split the bills. This was last October, as the weather was just starting to get colder. My sister had plans to meet up with some friends in Florida, so she would be gone for almost a whole week. She invited me, but I couldn't take the time off work. Anyway, she left on Monday morning, which was a day I didn't work. I cleaned up the house and just enjoyed having some time alone. That same day, though, around 2, there was a knock at the door. I thought it was maybe a package my sister had ordered, so I answered it. It was an older man, like early 40s. He wasn't holding a package or anything, though. "Hi, how can I help you?" The guy appeared me with inside the eyes for an unsettling quantity of time earlier than answering. "Oh, I simply desired to look who lived here. Sorry, didn't suggest to hassle you." He smiled and nodded, then walked away. Idea that turned into abnormal, and wasn't definitely positive what he supposed through that. However, I closed the door and persisted my day. As a long way as I'm aware, not anything else passed off for the relaxation of the evening. The following day, I had work, so I wakened early and headed right all the way down to the office. I were given lower back domestic at 6. Only a half hour later, and while I was cooking dinner, there was a knock at the door again. I looked out the peephole before answering this time, and it was the same man from yesterday. He was easy to recognize because he wore the same exact clothes. I opened the door, though I was a bit more hesitant this time, only cracking it open. "Is everything okay?" He smiled and said, "Of course," as if I was being silly for asking that. He then said he was just checking in on me. The way he said it was like it was expected or something. "Oh, are you a neighbor of mine?" "I didn't know," I said, assuming he must be one of those older, nosy neighbors. It still would be strange for him to check in on me, but it would explain it. "Oh no, I was just walking around," he said. He was really starting to creep me out now, so I said I was fine and closed the door. I waited for him to leave my porch, then went back to cooking. I texted my sister that night, asking if she'd ever encountered that man, but she said no. I was paranoid the rest of the night. I felt safe inside my home. All the doorways have been locked and everything. However, I additionally felt like I turned into being stalked and watched. What should that guy probable need that wasn't something creepy? The nighttime surpassed again, without extra symptoms and symptoms of him, and equal with the subsequent day. He failed to knock at the door, and was hoping it'd genuinely be not anything to fear about. The day after, I had off paintings, and it turned into the ultimate day that my sister could be long gone for. I spent maximum of my time in her and simply putting out, studying, and looking YouTube. Every so often, I'd peek out the home windows, simply to be cautious. However, I by no means noticed something. Around 8, I turned into looking TV after I heard something scrape in opposition to the out-of-doors of the house. It seemed like a stick scratching alongside the siding. I quick were given up and opened the blinds, seeing the bush proper beneath the window, shaking, and faintly, I should pay attention. Footsteps strolling away. I could not see something else withinside the darkish, though. I felt like I was going to throw up. Surely it was the same man. But how long was he there? Was he sitting in the bushes trying to watch me through the window? I was so out of it, I didn't know what to do, and ended up calling my sister. Luckily for me, she picked up. I tried to explain to her what was going on, but I think I was talking too fast for her to understand. And midway through the conversation, there was a knock at the door. I didn't answer, but the man started calling out and knocking louder. He asked me to let him in and tried to guilt-trip me by saying he was injured. Then he made excuses for being outside my home and then started apologizing for everything. He continued to bang on the door. It was creepy and disturbing how desperate he was for me to open the door. Clearly something was wrong with him. My sister told me to call 911 immediately, so I hung up and did as she said. The man stayed at the door for a whole 5 minutes, still trying to convince me to let him in, before he finally left. What the person surely desired is unknown, and the way lengthy he changed into stalking me for is likewise unknown. He should have, by hook or by crook, discovered my sister changed into long gone for the week. It simply looks as if too huge of a coincidence. Whatever the case, I haven't visible him in any respect, considering that then. Hopefully it is over. But first, did you know that 98% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed? That means you. And yes, I am speaking specifically to you. Probably aren't. So now would be a great time to leave a like on the video and subscribe. Anyhow, it was just before 2 a.m. and I had gotten an Uber back to my place after partying all night for New Year's. I don't think I was plastered or anything, but I definitely was well beyond tipsy, and I had a raging headache. When I got dropped off, I slowly made my way up to the front door and fumbled around with my keys for way too long before making it inside. I tossed everything on the floor and took an ibuprofen, then fell over on the couch. I was exhausted and tired, but the headache was keeping me from sleeping, so I kind of just laid there with my eyes closed for a while. I honestly have no idea how long. Randomly, though, the doorbell rang. It rang several times, and I never got up to answer the door or even see who it was. At the moment, I didn't even care or think about it. I just wanted to lay there and try to sleep and not be bothered. Obviously, with it being the middle of the night, someone ringing my doorbell repeatedly should be pretty concerning. But like I said, I had a bit too much to drink. Surprisingly, now no longer too lengthy when they stopped ringing the doorbell, I genuinely controlled to skip out at the couch. I couldn't say how lengthy I changed into a sleep for. However, once I awakened, I changed into very groggy and felt weak, nonetheless with a pounding headache, and the entire residence changed into dark. I stood up and attempted to make my manner to the kitchen to get a tumbler of water, once I observed a streak of mild at the wall inside the hallway. Even in my now no longer so sober state, it changed into unmistakable what it changed into. The mild changed into coming from the front door, being partly open, and moonlight spilling into the residence. Was I honestly so under the influence of alcohol that I failed to near the door? There changed into no manner. Before, I could even walk into the hallway and look at the door. Footsteps moved around upstairs. I froze, then hurried back to the couch and ducked behind it. There were 2 sets of footsteps. Walking right above me, I thought about making a run for it, but my hesitation ruined my chances as the footsteps began making their way down the stairs. There was a pause, then the sound of the front door shutting, and the streak of light disappeared. All right, let's get on with it. A man spoke. I was completely sobered up now, and realized they probably had just gotten inside moments before I woke up, and immediately checked the bedrooms upstairs. Not seeing anyone, they assumed the place was empty. My chest felt like it was burning from how fast my heart was racing. The men moved around in the room on the other side of the house and began chatting like everyday regular talk about life. I don't know, but something about it was so disturbing and terrifying. I mean, if they were so comfortable breaking into my home and having casual conversations while doing so, then what the hell were they going to do if they found me? I could hear them taking things, robbing all the rooms in the house before the footsteps made their way into the living room. The way I had it set up, the couch was diagonal in the corner, so I was kind of closed off behind it, but the couch was also short, so if they got close to it, they would easily be able to see me. I just listened as they walked around, moving things and opening every drawer and box they saw. Then one of the men started walking closer to the couch. I hoped and waited for their footsteps to stop or change directions, but they kept coming closer and closer until I saw their head show above me. They were looking down at the cushions, though, and I guess they didn't see me in the side of their vision. Then they moved on to the next room. I sat there motionless for almost 30 minutes, listening to them rummage through the entire house before they finally left. I didn't hear them say anything about coming back, but I grabbed my phone and ducked back behind the couch as I called the cops. The situation is mostly exactly what it seems like. The men came in and robbed the valuables from my home. I had forgotten to lock the front door, but there's some evidence that it wouldn't have mattered. A neighbor said they saw two men watching my house rather suspiciously over the course of the past week. Likely they saw that I lived alone and always parked in the driveway. So when I took my car to the New Year's party and came back in an Uber without my car, they thought I wasn't home. Thankfully, it seems they only intended to rob me and nothing more. But had they found me, who knows what could have happened? I was at home with my dog Hazel. It was a normal night. I'd gotten out of work already and was just trying to enjoy the few hours I had before bed. I was watching TV and eating some snacks when Hazel got up and went to the back door, wanting to be let out. I got up and let her outside to do her business. I had a pretty small fenced-in backyard, so I never really needed to keep an eye on her too much. Usually she'd stay out for a while and sniff around anyway. While I was up, I put some dishes away and cleaned up the mess I made from cooking earlier when Hazel started barking. She liked to bark at squirrels and stuff, but after a few seconds, she still hadn't let up. I walked over to the back door and opened it, seeing Hazel standing by the side of the fence and barking at it, like something was on the other side. It was just woods on that side of the fence, so I thought maybe she'd seen a coyote or something. Just to be safe, I called her back inside. I got back on the couch and turned the TV on. Something was immediately different about Hazel, though. Usually she'd lay on or next to me. But she was sitting on the edge of the couch, head perked up and staring at the back door. No matter how much I'd call her over, she'd just glance at me, then go back to watching. She was like this for the rest of the night. A couple times I did look over there, but saw nothing. I thought she was just in protective mode for some reason, which she does randomly sometimes. We stayed up for a bit, then went to bed at 10:30. Hazel usually sleeps on the end of my bed or on her doggy bed in the corner of the room, but I always leave the bedroom door cracked open because her food and water is downstairs. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I noticed the bedroom door was wide open, much more than I had left it. Maybe she bumped into the door. She wasn't in the room, and I didn't hear her nails clicking on the wooden floor, or the sound of her eating or drinking. On any other day, I'd probably just go back to sleep and not worry about it. But something gave me a bad gut feeling. Even my body seemed to have fully woken up already. I got out of bed and looked out into the hallway. The house was quiet. Hazel. I walked down the steps and into the living room. Everything seemed to be normal, but all the food and water in her bowls were still full. At this point, everything was rushing through my mind. I was scared. Maybe somehow I'd left the back door open and she ran away or something, even though I knew I didn't. I walked into the kitchen and my heart sank, seeing Hazel crouched underneath the table, shivering and shaking and staring at me, completely terrified of something. I called her name again, and she didn't move. And then I noticed the back door was open. Everything was starting to come together in my mind, but I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped and scared and vulnerable. I hurried over to the table and picked Hazel up, then ran right out the back door. I left through the fence gate and ran over to a neighbor's house. It took a minute, but eventually they woke up and answered the door, calling the police for me. When officers searched my home, they didn't find anyone. There were a few signs of shoe prints around the house, though, some even being upstairs. That whole scenario is so confusing and left me with hundreds of questions and zero answers. I don't know who it was or why they broke in, or even how long they'd been inside for. Were they the one to open my bedroom door all the way? Were they hiding when I was looking for Hazel? Were they even still in the house? I almost wish I encountered them before running away, so I'd at least have some sort of answers. Now, I'm left with nothing. I just have to live and hope it was some random thing and that they don't come back. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing video. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All right, that's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.